Hey there, this is Josh. I am giving a summary on the first chapter of Addiction and Grace. This is a great introduction to our spiritual formation class, a great introduction to this book. Um, and so we begin where the chapter began, that we all have a longing for God. We all have a God-shaped hole, you could say. That was a common expression. But we all have this longing, and it's God Himself who put that there. It's God who designed us to need Him, and to be searching for Him. And so, therefore, if we're all searching, we're all looking to fill this hole that only God can fill. Anything that takes us away from God, anything that seeks to fill that hole, that is an addiction. We become addicted to that, and therefore we are all addicts. I had never really thought about that before. I know there's things that I have struggled with. I am definitely addicted to coffee, but we are all addicts. We all look to find our deep needs met by something other than God. The chapter talks about how our desires and our longings for fulfillment, they get nailed to something other than God. And again, that's addiction. I appreciated the quote, addiction is giving energy to things that are not our desires. We think they are, but they're not. They will not meet that need. They will not meet the desire for God, because it's not God. And the result of that, when we become addicted, is that our love is incomplete. There's a good section about how we are incapable, because we're addicts, we're incapable of fulfilling the great commandment. We're incapable of loving God with everything that we have. We're incapable of loving our neighbors as ourselves because of the addictions that we get stuck on. It was also fascinating to read and think about the paradox of free will, right? That addiction kind of creates this willfulness. We can choose something to try and meet that need, right? We have free will. However, because it's an addiction, it actually takes our free will away from us. We get stuck on it, and without the help of God, we can't get free, and we can't go and actually meet the true desire, and that is God Himself. So where we're left is in desperate need of grace. That's where our hope lies. The chapter talks about God is the giver of grace, and He is frequently giving out grace, and that's what brings freedom. Again, if we're all addicts, we're all in need of grace. No one is beyond that. There are things that we can do to position ourselves to receive that grace. However, it's a gift from God. It's all His doing. Two quotes just to kind of end. Grace itself cannot be possessed. It is eternally free. So in essence, in some ways, we cannot become addicted to grace because we can't grab hold of it. It's God. We need to let everything go. And that's God doing that. Giving us the power to let everything go and just let His grace fall on us and fill us, so that our desire for Him can be met. We cannot control grace. And then finally, as we close, he talks about because if you're stuck in addiction, every time, there's no hope. And he says that hope can sometimes be an elusive thing, and occasionally it must come to us with pain. Gotta move this window real quick. Must come to us with pain. But it is there, irrevocably. Like freedom, hope is a child of grace, and grace cannot be stopped. So there is hope, because there's grace. And when we get that glimmer of hope, we know that God's grace is coming. God's grace is being poured out. And we just plead with Him to rip that addiction from our hands and fill us with Himself. Great beginning to this discussion.